Nietzsche, a German philosopher, said that the most fundamental force driving human behavior, and that of all other life forms, is the will to power, the name of one of his most famous books. The kind of power he is talking about is that which alters one's perspective of truth, reality, and most notably, people's values. The world's dominant powers structure how we see and understand the world, creating the narrative that defines the values of our culture, religion, politics, and other norms.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Nietzsche's philosophy focuses on overcoming, which is the ability of an individual to assert one's own will to power, to overcome these constraints. Nietzsche calls this process of transcending one's predefined values the revaluation of all values, which is also the title of a book he never completed due to his untimely mental and physical deterioration in the late 19th century. Nietzsche argues that sufficient change in these values over time may redefine the human race completely, which he alludes to in his earlier work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, where he introduces the concept of the Übermensch, or Overman. Zarathustra has been interpreted to be a possible version of what such a higher being might look like. Recently, many of the world's leading computer scientists, philosophers, and technologists have drawn parallels between Nietzsche's philosophical ideas and the principles of transhumanism. Transhumanism, a philosophical movement that advocates for a transformation of the human condition through technology, aligns with Nietzsche's philosophy in many ways. Max More, a British philosopher, futurist, and transhumanist author, claims that not only are there fundamental similarities between Nietzsche's philosophy and transhumanism, but that Nietzsche's philosophy directly influenced transhumanism. In his paper, The Overman in the Transhuman, published in the Journal of Evolution and Technology, Max More shares that Nietzsche's philosophy was an inspiration to his seminal works, Transhumanism, Towards a Futurist Philosophy, and The Principles of Extropy. More's writings have been foundational in shaping the philosophy of contemporary transhumanism and credits Nietzsche's ideas as a direct influence on his work. In Transhumanism, Toward a Futurist Philosophy, More writes, "The religionist has no answer to the extropic challenge put by Nietzsche's Zarathustra. I teach you the Overman. Man is something that is to be overcome. What have you done to overcome him?" I agree with Nietzsche that nihilism is only a transitional stage resulting from the breakdown of an erroneous interpretation of the world. We now have plenty of resources to leave nihilism behind, affirming a positive, but continually evolving value perspective. This was More's main connection that he drew from Nietzsche's philosophy. More goes on to say how Nietzsche and transhumanism alike both value critical rationalism, a form of reasoning that emphasizes criticism, questioning, and the evolution of thought. Self-transformation, another concept emphasized in Nietzsche's work, More says is central to extropy and transhumanism. Though Nietzsche did not specifically discuss technology in his idea of the Übermensch, his advocacy for self-overcoming and science suggests compatibility with technological means for achieving post-human ideals. Concluding his paper, More rejects the idea that transhumanism is more akin to utilitarianism, which is a moral theory that claims that the most ethical choice is the one that will produce the greatest good for the greatest number of people. The commonality is seen in transhumanism's effort to improve the condition of all humans. More highlights Nietzsche's distaste for the slave morality of utilitarianism, and concludes that while transhumanism does align with utilitarianism in some sense, there is room for a Nietzschean transhumanism to arise as a morality that values self-overcoming and personal growth without the utilitarian obligation to maximize the welfare of the greatest number of people.